Hello and welcome to the Temple of Enlightenment International Spiritual Center. My name is Issachar Bey, and I want to welcome you to our community. If this is your first time, please hit the like button, and also please let us know what city, what state, what country you're listening from. If you haven't done so already, please hit the subscribe button so that you can be notified of all great content that will be uploaded and all different things that we have going on within this community. We definitely want you to be a part. We welcome you and we thank you for your consistency and also for your gratitude, and we're thankful for you. And so we are forever grateful for all of your presence, all of you that continue to contribute, continue to help us out, whether it's financial donations, whether it's your attendance, whether it's your feedback, your input. We've been getting a lot of great impact on the last couple of weeks of the different topics that we are going into. Today is another great one. And so I want to thank all of you for being a part of this community. And please, if anything in this community has been beneficial to you, if it has changed your life, if it has given you a new goal, a new direction in life, if it has expanded your consciousness, we ask that you share it with 5 of your friends, let them know about us, let them know that we're here every Sunday, same time, same place, and let them be a part of this great experience. I want to thank all of you who are obedient to also hitting the like button. When you do that, what it does is it helps us raise the algorithm. It helps us to be more visible. It helps us to be more dominant in our genre and in our field. So we thank everybody for hitting the like button for us. It's a way of basically saying that you support us and that you want to help us to become bigger, to become better, and to be able to galvanize and bring in people of like-mindedness who also want to hear these great teachings, these great lectures. And so we are forever grateful for your presence. We're going to continue with a topic today that I feel is very on time, that I feel is very needed in this day and time, and I feel that it's something that's been kind of brushed away, put in the background. We don't want to deal with the things that we're going to talk about today because it's really about putting in the work, and it's really about dealing with ourselves. And a lot of times we don't want to deal with ourselves. We want to deal with everybody else. We want to deal with all the other issues and problems that everybody else has. We can tell everybody how to handle their problems and how to deal with their issues, but we never really want to focus and deal with ourselves. And so today I believe that it's time for us to look in the mirror and begin to do some self-evaluations and really look into dealing with ourselves on so many facets and different levels. But I want you to get into a quiet position, and I want you to take a deep breath and inhale and exhale. Once again, take a deep breath and inhale and exhale. Again, take a deep breath and inhale and exhale. I recognize that there is one presence, one power, one infinite intelligence at the heart of all life. This presence is whole, perfect, and complete. It is the source of all healing, all peace, all wisdom. It is not found in the outer conditions of the world, but in the quiet sanctuary of the soul. This presence lives within me, as me, and is the truth of who I am. I affirm now that true healing begins from within. No outer change, no material adjustment, no surface solution can send the deeper wounds of the heart and soul. Only the light of spirit, the divine presence within, can restore wholeness where there appears to be brokenness. I turn inward, not I turn inward not in retreat, but in realization. I awaken to the truth that I am already whole, already complete, already one with the infinite. Without love, I speak to every place in me that has felt unworthy, unseen, or unloved. I bring it into the light of divine compassion and truth. I declare that every wound is now touched by the healing power of divine love. I am not fixing the problem. I am revealing the perfection that has always been mine. I give thanks for this sacred remembering that the inner cure is now. I rejoice in the freedom, peace, and wholeness that arises from within. I realize and I release this word as it is being made perfect into the law, trusting completely that the healing is done, the peace is real, and the love is everlasting. And so it is, and so it is. Thank you once again for tuning in to the Temple of Enlightenment International Spiritual Center. If you're just tuning in, please let us know what city, what state, what country you're listening from. And by all means, please do us a favor and hit the like button. We're going to talk today from the subject, the inner cure, why external fixes can never heal internal wounds. Why external fixes can never heal your eternal wounds. I want to talk about that today. We are diving into a revelation so deep that it will crack the concrete casing around your old wounds and set your soul back on fire. The world is busy selling us Band-Aids for our brokenness. But I'm here to tell you that external fixes can never heal your internal wounds. I find that to be very interesting because when you look at this, many of us, as we talked about last week, we do things from the outside in instead of from the inside out. And a lot of times we get frustrated because we want to go to the next level. We want to experience this great level of manifestation. We want to be able to see our life go to a higher height and a deeper depth. But there's some things that need to be taking place. There's some healing. There's some internal fixing and healing that needs to take place, because the frustration is I'm doing everything that I'm supposed to be doing, but I'm still getting all of this rejection. I'm still getting all of this negativity. I'm still getting all of these discombobulation. I'm still getting all of this. It seems like so much chaos and disruption and disconnectedness is coming through, and you're frustrated because you're saying, I don't know where this is coming from. I'm not projecting this. But where it's coming from is because it's going on inside of you. There's the brokenness. There's the discomfort. There's the discontinuations. There's the disruption that's going on inside of you that has not been dealt with. And so you can't fix something externally and think that it will heal internally. That's insanity. And so today we're going to talk about this. I want to talk about this. Many of us, if not all of us, have some things that we need to deal with internally. And until we deal with those things on an internal level, we'll still be seeing the same scenarios, the same situations going on and on in our lives until we're able to make those changes. Now, the true cure in all of this is always going to be the inside job. It's the true cure. And in order for it to be effective, I want to start at the root. The root is where all things happen. It's the origin of all things, going beneath the surface into the root. You can't fix spirit with stuff. Inner wounds aren't accidents. They take place where your spirit got tangled in an illusion. The illusion of abandonment, the illusion of rejection, or even the illusion of unworthiness. The illusion of abandonment says that you believed this illusion that everybody left you, that you were abandoned, that nobody wanted you. You believe the illusion of rejection, that you were rejected, that you weren't good enough, and that nobody wanted you, and that you weren't good enough to be in this particular group, or you weren't good enough to be standing in the circle, and you weren't good enough to be in this particular program or stand with these particular people. And so you believed in the illusion of rejection. The rejection maybe because of my size, maybe because of my weight, maybe because of my color, maybe because of my hairstyle, maybe because of how I dress. And so you believed in the illusion of rejection. Or it could have been the illusion of unworthiness, saying that maybe I'm not worthy to be amongst them. Maybe I'm not worthy to stand with them. Maybe I'm not good enough to stand with them. Maybe they're better than me. I'm not good as they are. They are better than me, and so these are the conversations that take place inwardly. These are the conversations that take place mentally. These are the conversations that take place on the psychological level. And so when you look at these things, ladies and gentlemen, sometimes it's the intangibles that do the most damage. The things that can't be seen, the things that we can't touch. It's the intangibles that really, really, really put us in a different place. These wounds show up emotionally, but they originate metaphysically from a moment where you forgot your divinity. No car, no relationship, no degree, no applause can rewrite that memory unless you heal it from within, which means that nothing I do on the outside, nothing I can do on the outside will begin to erase or heal what's been going on unless I do it from within. External victories cannot substitute for internal validation. I'm going to say that again. External victories cannot substitute for internal validation. External solutions give a temporary high. You may buy something new, you feel worthy for a second. Someone loves you, you feel whole for a while. You get promoted, you feel secure until you don't. You know, I've always used to say all of this, that I don't want happiness in life, I want fulfillment. Because in the word happiness is the word happens, which means that in order for me to get happiness, something has to happen. I don't always want something have to happen for me to be happy. I want an inner happiness that I can always be happy. I can have an inner fulfillment that if anything happens or doesn't happen, I can still be happy. I don't need to buy something new just to feel like I'm worthy, or I don't need for somebody to tell me they love me or attempt to show me they love me, and then I feel somewhat loved for a moment, and then all of a sudden in the physical world we get promotions, we get validated, we get, you know, um, uh, we get some form of an idea, and it brings us into that particular mindset. Whatever inner healing your mind translates everything through the lens of your unhealed pain. Without inner healing, listen to what I'm saying. Without inner healing, without you healing from within, your mind will translate everything through the lens of your unhealed pain. So that's why a lot of you are frustrated now, because you you listen to the vision board mastery. You went through the 8 pillars of success. You've listened to all these things. You listened to the great rewrite, and you're like, Issachar, I am doing everything you're telling us to do. I'm got the journal. I'm doing all these things. I'm writing the affirmations. I'm every day I'm working on this and that, and I'm still getting the negativity. I'm still getting the drama, the disruption. That's because there's some inner things inside of you that you haven't begun to deal with. You're doing everything on the outside, externally, but internally you haven't begun to deal with the healing part of what's actually in front of you. You cannot win the world and still feel wounded inside. External success doesn't heal internal deficiency. It only makes it. It only masks it. It only masks it. So many of us, we have been wearing the mask. Everybody thinks we're doing well. We smile, we laugh, we walk around like everything is going good, but inwardly, we're not living, we're not feeling, we're not surviving, we're not living the life that we think we should be. We're putting the mask on. And in the end, it only hurts us. You're masking the wounds, you're masking the disruptions. And so it brings you into that. It brings you into that focus that says, I got to make a change. You have couples who are married and they outside, everything is wonderful. They're embracing each other. They're showing affection to each other. They're loving each other. And then when they get inside of the house, they don't even talk to each other. They don't even talk to each other. I believe that there's 5 stages of healing. But before we get into those 5 stages, I want you to take a moment and think about, is there anything, what about me that needs to be healed? I want you to take a moment and think about that. What about me and my life inwardly needs to be healed? Think about it. Take 30 seconds and just think about that. Think about that. What about in my life needs to be healed? What? You can't you can't allow these external fixes to think that they're going to be good enough to cover up what's going on inwardly. I want to get into these real quickly. What I call the 5 stages of healing. The first one is recognition. You can't heal what you refuse to see. You can't do it. You cannot heal what you refuse to see. You have to be honest with yourself and come to the realization of, I have a problem, I have an issue that needs to be healed. Healing begins when you stop blaming and start observing and realize that, yes, I have an issue. I'm now coming to the realization that this issue I have is something that needs to be dealt with. I understand now why I'm getting all of the drama. I'm getting all of the same kind of people that's coming into my life, why I keep getting stabbed in the back. I keep magnetizing the wrong people into my world. I'm starting to understand that now because of some of the negative patterns and wounds that I'm still holding on to inwardly. Number 2 is compassion. Self-condemnation keeps the wound alive. Compassion starves the wound of judgment. So me having compassion, understanding that I have some wounds, I have some things that I need to think of, some issues, but I don't want to be judged. And so that's why you deal with it individually. You don't tell people what you're doing. You don't have to put it on all social media, what you're trying to heal or whatever the case may be, because you're not trying to be judged. You're not trying to be criticized and downplayed or judged based on what you're going through. You're dealing with this by yourself. Me, myself, and I'm dealing with the issues, the wounds that I have inside of me, right? And so the first thing is the recognition. You got to recognize what wounds and issues that you have going on. What wounds do I need to be putting my attention to? Because these wounds are what's causing me some issues externally and have been doing so over the years. Now, everybody who's listening to me, if any of us that have wounds, these wounds didn't just show up 5 minutes ago. These are things that have been dwelling and have been ongoing for a while. The next one is integration. Wholeness isn't deleting the wound. It's integrating the wisdom hidden inside of the pain. Now, I like this because I've always believed and I've always taught that you need to learn how to turn your wounds into wisdom. I've always taught that. If you could write that in the chat, turning my wounds into wisdom. Turning my wounds into wisdom. And when you learn how to turn your wounds into wisdom, you'll understand that the power in looking into where the pain is and how there's wisdom inside of the wound. There's wisdom inside of your wounds. And I know a lot of us don't want to deal with it. A lot of us are just putting a mask on it and we're pushing it to the side and we're piling up on top of it and we're piling up on top of it because we don't want to deal with it. But you have to realize at some point you've got to deal with this. And you have to deal with the actual understanding of the wounds that each of us have. And we got to deal with it, right? The next level of healing is reprogramming. You rewire your thoughts to align with your divine identity, not your traumatic history. So you got to reprogram. After you have identified the wound, and you're making the transformation of turning your wounds into wisdom, you've got to go into a reprogramming state of mind. Why? Because I'm dealing with this wound, and I'm being able to handle it and let it go, so that I don't hold on to this, that I don't have this bitterness, that I don't have this anger and this anger inside of me and this bitterness inside of me, and that I don't have this animosity, and that I don't walk around thinking that the world owes me, and that all of these things that happen by us not dealing with the wounds. Each one of us have wounds inside of us that need to be healed. People that have did things to us, people that didn't do things for us that they should have done to help us. Situations and circumstances because we felt like maybe we should have been in a better position in life than we were, and we weren't, and we had to go through a lot, and we had to struggle, and we had to go through these things. But in the end, you find that you are grateful that things turned out the way that they did. The last one is going to be embodiment. Healing is not thinking new thoughts. It's becoming a new vibration. Yes, when you reprogram yourself, it's not just thinking new thoughts. Because remember, your thoughts become things. Your thoughts become your feelings. We talked about this last week, right? When you change your thought style, you change your lifestyle, right? And what happens is when you start understanding the power of embodiment, you understand that your healing is not just thinking new thoughts, but it's actually becoming a new vibration. I'm actually no longer connected to those wounds. I've addressed those wounds. I've recognized them. I begin to have compassion for them. I've integrated them. I've reprogrammed them, and I've embodied them. The 5 stages of healing: recognition, compassion, integration, reprogramming, embodiment. And when I've done those 5 steps to my wounds, I now understand that I'm now moving in a new vibration, which means that I'm no longer magnetizing the same discord, the same disruption, the same drama, the same disconnection that I've been pulling in every aspect of my life. But now I'm moving to a greater depth, a higher level, a deeper depth. And so we're moving into that. And it's really amazing. Sometimes when we talk about healing, I have to ask myself the question, what is real healing? What does that mean? What is the nature of real healing? When somebody says, I just got out of a divorce, I've got out of a relationship, I was broken, and I've had to heal. Asking yourself the question, what does real healing mean? What does it mean when I've had a friendship with somebody over the years and they've done some very, very unconventional things to me, and when I found out about it, it really broke me. It really broke me because this is a person that I love. This is a person that I've honored, that I've embraced, that I've brought in and really embraced as one, and they have betrayed me. And so with that brokenness, what is the true nature of healing? Uh, Real healing is remembrance. Healing isn't becoming something else. Healing is remembering who you were before the wound happened. I'll say that again. Healing is remembering who you were before the wound happened. It's peeling away the lies that you are not enough, that you are unloved, and that you are unseen. And a lot of times the wounds will give us that in illusion. The wounds will give us the illusion that maybe I'm not enough. You know, maybe nobody loves me. Right? Now, what's amazing to me when we really dive into this is that the wounds will cause you to find an illusion, right? That illusion becomes only is effective because the illusion comes from the outside in. And so what happens is you're not going to get that lie of you're not enough from the inside. You got it from the outside. Nothing from the inside of yourself is ever going to tell you that you're unloved. You develop that from the outside. Something, some circumstance, some people, some situation made you feel unloved. That came from the outside. Everything from the outside becomes an illusion, right? This whole thing about you not being seen, you're unseen, right, is an illusion from the outside. It doesn't come from the inside. But here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen, you will always be deceived by your five senses. I think we talked about this back in the Mental Alchemy. The How to Awaken the Mental Alchemist is a series that's on our YouTube page. You can go back and go through that series. It's a powerful, powerful series. But in that series, we talked about how to overcome the five senses, about what we see, feel, say, touch. All of the five senses, right? They can bring you in a state of illusion and deception. They can deceive you. Why? Because everything that looks good isn't good. Everything that sounds good isn't good. Everything that smells good isn't good. But your five senses can manipulate you. So the same way these wounds inside of us are now causing the outside circumstances to manipulate us to think that we're not enough, that we're unloved, or that we're unseen. You are already whole. You've just been waiting. You've just been wearing the costume of brokenness. That's what the wounds will make you do. The wounds will make you wear the costumes of brokenness. And so I hope you're getting this. If you can understand that, wait a minute, the wounds, the brokenness, all of the stuff that I have internally is causing these things to happen on the outside, then you realize you don't need to change the outside because it didn't start from the outside. It started from the inside. And if you change the inside circumstances, it will then change your outside. As within, so without. As within, so without. The inner cure doesn't add anything to you. It reveals the radiant truth that was already here. It doesn't add anything to you. It's just going to reveal the truth that was already here. Healing is your divine inheritance, reclaiming its throne. I'm going to say that again, ladies and gentlemen. Healing is your divine inheritance, reclaiming its throne. Now, many of us, hopefully, when we finish listening to this today, and this may be a little heavy, but I think that it's needed, something that we got to look into, we got to deal with, is when we talk about wounds. A lot of us are now recognizing, yeah, I've got some wounds in my life. I've got some things that, I need to deal with. There's some wounds. I want to look at the different kind of wounds that each of us may have. I believe that if we're going to talk about dealing with the wounds that cause these illusions of lack and these illusions of not being loved and not being seen and not being feeling whole and not being accepted and so forth, we have to look at these wounds and begin to deal with them. The first kind of wound I want to think about is the mental layer. The mental layer causes you to believe things that are not real. Then there's the emotional layer, which deals with the unprocessed feelings that we bury. And then there's an energetic level, the vibration that you emit based on those feelings. And then there's a spiritual layer, the forgetting of your divine self. So when you start looking at inner wounds, you deal with it from a mental level. It becomes the stories that you believe. Then it gets the emotional, where it's the unprocessed feelings that we bury. And then from the mental and to the emotional, it moves into an energetic level now. Because now that vibration of the mental and emotional turns into a vibration now. And that vibration that we emit based on those feelings are now put out. And then from that energetic level, it goes into the spiritual side, and it allows us to forget who we are in our divinity. External fixes can only touch the mental or emotional surface, but the inner cure pierces deep into the energetic and spiritual DNA. And when you get into the energetic and spiritual DNA, that's where the permanent transformation lives. That's where the personal transformation lives. When we move into that vicinity of dealing with the wounds, because now listen to this. One will ask, why the energetic and spiritual aspect of the wound? Because energetic is where the vibration happens. See, yeah, what I believe and my unprocessed feelings, yeah, I understand those. But then those two turn into a vibration. Once we turn into a vibration now, I'm now vibrating out. I'm now putting that energy out into the world. I'm now magnetizing that energy. Guess what? Vibration means what I've become. So let me break that down in layman's terms. When we use the word vibration, when we talk about something becomes a vibration, we're actually meaning that something becomes the very thing it's vibrating. So if I'm on a mental aspect layer, addressing accepting the wound, and then I'm also accepting the wound on an emotional level, and then now I take the mental and the emotional, and then I connect it with the energetic level. I'm now becoming the very wound. When I move into the vibration aspect of this thing, I've now become the wound. So it's not that I have a wound, I am the wound. And some of you don't realize that. That's why you're getting the circumstances and the situations that are showing up in your life, because you have become the very wound that you're trying to deal with. But that's why I just said the only way that the inner cure can pierce deep into your energetic and spiritual DNA is the only time when you can get the inner cure. Why? Because if I can pierce and get into the energetic layer, that's where you become the womb. So if I can negate and stop that, now I stop you from becoming the womb. And we can now remove the womb so that you don't have to become the womb, but you can become your true self and who you are. And now we begin to understand that that's where the permanent transformation lives. I believe that everybody listening to me right now, you were born with everything you need in this lifetime. You were born with everything you need in this lifetime. There's nothing that you need that has not already been given to you. And let me say this to you, and I said this before. Even these lectures that you hear me speak, these teachings that I say every Sunday, I'm not telling you anything new. There's nothing new under the sun. Only thing I'm doing is bringing you back to remembrance of who you are. Because everything that you have inside of you, everything that's inside of you has been given to you before you came into this world. You came into this world fully equipped. And as you begin to learn who you are and your destiny and your purpose, and you begin to now evaluate and learn how to play the hand that life dealt you and learn how to play that hand to win. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, I believe that if you're going to be the person that cures themselves innerly, you're going to be the person that now begins to work on yourself and work on the inner cure. There's some things that we need to talk about. Number one, I need you to change your perspective. Now, it's amazing to me, and this is great, how we talked about the wounds. Anytime you deal with a wound, it always starts off in the mind. It's the mental layer is first, because everything starts off in the mind. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. It's always going to start in your mind first, this wound that you're dealing with. But I want you to take that and begin to deal with it in a transformational way. Your inner pharmacist, you already carry the medicine within you. Yes, your inner pharmacist, you already carry the medicine you need to heal yourself is already within you. Yes, it's there. The medicine that you need to heal yourself is already within you. I want to talk a little bit about a couple of the things that I think will be helpful in us learning how to heal ourselves, or begin to start practicing what I call the inner cure. Self-awareness, recognizing your triggers without judgment. And notice how I say without judgment, because a lot of times, a lot of us are scared to deal with ourselves or let anybody know that we have these wounds because we are afraid of a judgment. I've always did this in counseling with couples, that when you are in a relationship with somebody, you really get into a relationship with somebody when you can become naked. When I mean naked, I don't mean physically naked. I mean spiritually, emotional naked. When you can become transparent and begin to show each other your wounds and not be afraid of the judgment. But begin to understand that, yes, if you show me your wounds and I show you my wounds, that we help each other heal. We help each other tap into the inner cure to heal ourselves. And what happens is recognizing the triggers without judgment, right? Being honest, to tell yourself the truth, and don't allow your ego to take effect. To really come to the notion and say, yes, I have an issue. This is my issue, and I need to deal with this issue. That person did this to me. I'm still holding on. I have a grudge. I haven't forgiven them. I haven't forgot about it. It's very difficult for me to forget. It's very difficult for me to let go of what they did to me. And so because of that, I'm very skeptical of dealing with people. That's why I have this bitterness. That's why I have this angerness. I'm coming with awareness. I'm coming with honesty, but I don't want to be judged. Just the recognition that you have the issue, that you have the wound, is great now, because now you can learn how to go in and out to start healing yourself. Remember, you're in a pharmacist. You have the medicine within you to heal yourself. Forgiveness, not for others, for the versions of yourself that didn't know better. See, when you forgive, you set yourself free, because you're the one that's holding on to the grudge. And what you don't realize is, by holding on to these wounds that are intangible, these wounds causes what we call dis-ease, which are the thoughts, the vibrations, the feelings, the emotions that move in dis-ease, and that causes disease. So you have to be very careful of really dealing with these wounds on the emotional, the psychological, all these different levels. And then the energy clearing, right? Release old vibrations through prayer, meditation, uh, basically, being able to clean out your aura, clean out your mindset. Now, that's why it's important about changing the vibration, because when you start dealing with wounds, remember, we don't have wounds, we become wounds. We are our wounds. There's no separation between you and your wound. So when you understand that, you want to try to disassociate yourself from the wound, because you realize that the wound is what's vibrating into your situation. You are reading our affirmations, you are writing your journals, you are meditating, you're doing all of this stuff, but still yet you haven't dealt with this wound of brokenness. You haven't dealt with this wound of anger and bitterness. And so all throughout your life, you're doing all of this stuff, and the bitterness and the anger and the discord and the drama keep showing up in your life, and you don't understand why. And you're frustrated because you're doing all the work on the outside. You're doing the affirmations. You're doing all of the outside work. But external fixes cannot heal inner wounds. So you got to be able to go in. You got to be able to now move from a different perspective now. I got to. I can't allow myself to be in this position and stay where I'm at now. And so I got to be able to cleanse my energy, cleanse my aura. I got to be able to cleanse this now, because I don't want to. I got to release myself from the old vibration. And then we got to deal with this, ladies and gentlemen. We got to deal with the inner child connection. We got to reparent the part of us that's still stuck in the moment of wounding. We got to deal with that. We got to deal with the inner child connection. We got to be able to deal with the inner child connection, which allows us to reparent the part of us that is still stuck in the moment of wounding. Every breath you take with caution, every breath you take with conscious love towards yourself stitches another thread of your soul back together. Every breath you take in connection with honesty and truth and wisdom, every breath you take that with conscious love, as I said before, towards yourself, stitches another thread of your soul back together. You are not broken. You are becoming integrated. You got to work with this for a while. Some of you may have to go back and listen to this. But I want to say this too. I don't want you to take this teaching and give it to somebody else and say, you need to be healed. Listen to this. And follow everything he's saying so he can help you get healed. That's not what this is about. Because everybody listening to this teaching, including myself, we all have some things that we need to heal. There's some wounds that we all have. And whatever those wounds are, I'm not going to worry about your wounds. Now, what I am going to do is say, listen, I believe that you will benefit from this. And yes, you should listen to this, and this will help you greatly. But I'm not going to force, or I'm not going to penalize somebody because of the wounds that they have, and tell them that they have to do this and they must do that. We have to learn how to move out of love and compassion and not judgment, because everybody has wounds. And so I think it's imperative that we deal with each other within ourselves, that we look at the man in the mirror, the woman in the mirror, and begin to deal with the inner wounds that we all have. When you start working on yourself and you tap into this inner healing, there's going to be massive changes in your life. What does life feels like after the inner cure? right? After you begin to address and recognize, after you begin to interrogate, and integrate, and embody, and after you begin to do all of that, the rebirth of your being, you come into a rebirth. You don't chase love, you radiate it. These are the attributes of a person who has now gotten to the place where they have identified their wounds. They begin to remove those wounds, let them go. And ladies and gentlemen, this is not something that happens overnight. It takes time, because look how many years you've connected with these wounds and put a Band-Aid over these wounds and just tried to not deal with these wounds, and they never went away. And so you've got to be able to deal with them. But when you deal with these wounds and you begin to remove them and disassociate yourself from these wounds, and you find a place of healing, you realize now, I don't chase love anymore. I radiate it. You don't hunt success. You magnetize it. You don't need validation. You validate your own existence. See, when you start dealing in inner healing and start tapping into the inner cure, you no longer need to chase love. You radiate it because you become love. You realize that each one of us is love. So, when I hear people say all the time, oh, being in love hurts, and he hurt me. He said he loved me, but he hurt me. Love can never hurt. And love can never hurt you, because you are love. So you didn't realize who you were. The person that you were in a relationship with didn't know who they were. So yes, they hurt you. But love can never hurt you. Love can only heal. Right? But when you don't chase love, you realize that you are love, and you begin to radiate who you are, which is love. And when you come into a level of self-healing, you don't go after success. You realize that you are success, and you magnetize it to you. Why? Because you only get out of life what you become. You never get out of life what you want. You only get out of life what you become. And so if I become success, then now I can magnetize it. And then a lot of us that have this void in us, because we need attention, we need admiration, we want to be seen, all of that, when you have that inclination like that, that goes to show you that there's some wounds there. Because once again, that's the illumination, right? That's I'm sorry, not the illumination, that's the illusion that there's a lack. Anytime you're searching for something outside of yourself, and it's an indication that there's a lack, that you don't have it, it's an illusion, which means that there's a wound. There's a wound somewhere that needs to be dealt with. Because you came into this world with everything that you need. So you don't need to go outside of yourself looking for love. And so once you become healed, you no longer look for the validation of people. You don't look for the validation on social media and all of that. What you do now is you validate your own existence. You don't need validation from anybody else. You shift from fixing yourself to focusing yourself. So yes, now I've moved from the fix to the focus. I'm fixed now. I've been able to remove the wounds. I know who I am now. I know what this is about. Now I'm focused. I'm ready to go in life. I'm ready to go after the things that I need to make, to manifest and bring it to fruition. I'm ready now because I've dealt with the wounds. So these are the things that we need to deal with. These are the things that we need to bring into fruition. You become dangerous to mediocrity. You become irresistible to destiny. You walk differently. You speak differently. You attract differently, because now you have come into a level of inner healing, and now those wounds are no longer there. And so you've now turned those wounds into wisdom, because healed people move like miracles wrapped in human skin. That's a bar. I'm going to say that again. Healed people move like miracles that are wrapped in human skin. And so when you get into that, you begin to understand the understanding of healing. You are not a project to be fixed. You are a masterpiece being unveiled. You got to know that you're a masterpiece, ladies and gentlemen. You're not a mistake. You're not an accident. You're a masterpiece. Nothing happens by mistake. Everybody who's listening to this, you were supposed to hear this. So if you give this to somebody else to listen to, they were supposed to hear this. There's no mistakes. There's no accidents. Everybody was supposed to hear this who had a wound, who needed to step into the inner healing, who needed to get into the inner cure. Somebody needed to hear this. Why? Because you've been frustrated. You've been going 10 steps ahead, getting knocked 9 steps back. Why? Because you had some wounds that you haven't dealt with. There's still some inner wounds that needed to be fixed, and you were doing external fixes thinking that they were going to heal those internal wounds, but they never did. And when you become healed, you stop reaching outwardly for what can only be realized inwardly. Sometimes you have to understand that. You will stop reaching outwardly for things that can only be realized inwardly. Ladies and gentlemen, you were born whole. You were born magnificent. You were born enough. And today is the day that you stop patching your pain with counterfeit cures. Today is the day that we stop putting Band-Aids and stop patching our pain with counterfeit cures. Today is the day that we remember and we say this: the inner cure is the only cure that lasts. The inner cure is the only cure that lasts. There's so many things that I like to say about that. I would say something like, I am the medicine I have always been seeking. I choose alignment over attachment. Every breath I take renews my soul. I radiate healing, love, and light. The inner cure is alive and active in me. I no longer chase cures, I embody them. And when you start living and beginning to understand the inner cure, what happens here is you begin to tap into a deeper level of self-trust and intuition. You begin to step into a level of magnetism that attracts authentic opportunities. You begin to deal with sustainable success, not situational highlights. You begin to deal with mastery over reactive behaviors. You authenticate your self-expression without fear of judgment. You begin to align your higher self and divine will. And you realize that a liberated life is designed from within. Everything happens from within, ladies and gentlemen. And this is the true understanding of the inner cure. The inner cure is alive and active in me here and now. And it's the only cure that lasts, is the inner cure. And so I want to thank all of you. I hope that you got something out of today. We call this the inner cure. How external fixes can never heal internal wounds. And so we have to be able to look at this from a great perspective, that as we move forward, we begin to start implementing this inner cure, and we start looking at ways in our lives of how we can fix it and how we can take things to the next level. I'm excited about your future. I'm excited about dealing with things and situations and circumstances. Do you know many of us are in situations and circumstances right now, and we think it's regular? We don't even know that what we are is in discomfort and in all kind of discombobulation, but we think that it's regular because we've been so connected to these wounds and been wounded all of our lives, that what's disrupted and discord and drama and disconnection and all kind of disruption we think is normal. But when you start dealing with the wounds, you start, wait a minute, I can't believe that I was in this situation and circumstance. I can't even believe that I was in this position, and I should have never been. But when you start working with the inner cure, you start dealing with things like this on a high level. And so I want to thank all of you for being a part of today. Please, if you could, hit the like button. If you haven't done so, please subscribe to this channel. And then if this teaching has been a blessing to you in any way, please hit the share button and share this to 5 of your friends. Let them know, listen, this guy Issachar was on point today. He gave a powerful message, I believe, on how some of us need to heal and some things we've been dealing with. And let this be a blessing to some people who need this teaching or who need this information. We also want to give you the opportunity to be a part of our circulation. If any of you would like to donate and say, hey, man, this brother has been so good, man. He's been dropping a lot of knowledge. His teachings have really, really transitioned my life and transformed my life into a greater level and a deeper depth. And you want to be a blessing to this ministry. You want to be a blessing to this organization. There's 4 ways that you can give any amount that you would like. We always ask for $26. But those of you that say, I only have 5, I only have 10, I only have 15, those of you that say, hey, I want to give more, whatever it is that's on your heart's desire, there are 4 ways that you can give. And also the ways to give are in the description down low. Also make sure you govern yourselves accordingly. The first way that you can give is our Cash App, which is $TOESC. Once again, that's Cash App. That's $TOESC. And you can go ahead and donate from our Cash App. We also have PayPal, and we also have Zelle. So our PayPal and our Zelle are going to be our email address, which is info@toesc.org. Once again, that's going to be info at toesc.org. info@toesc.org. And then we have Venmo. Venmo is going to be our email address, which is going to be Issachar Bey. It's going to be ISSACHARBEY@gmail.com. That's going to be IssacharBey@gmail.com. Those of you that want to use Venmo, I want to thank you for all of your donations, for all of your financial support. We believe in circulation. We believe that whatever you release out of your hand into this ministry, into this organization, will return back to its original place of origin, and you will be blessed. We call it into existence, hundredfold return, that everything your hands begin to touch, you will become successful for every business, for every idea, for everything that you're trying to manifest and bring into fruition. For everything of your existence will come aligned and true to who you are and what you would want it to be. And we also speak into existence that you become the best version of yourself. And we speak it into existence. I want to thank all of you for your help. I want to thank all of you for your support. And there's one thing that I always like to say: your destiny is not a matter of chance, but it's a matter of choice. I love you, and there's nothing you can do about it.